Here is the full result. The used RX 7800 XT reaches 95.99 tokens per second. The new RTX 5060 Ti follows closely, while the newer RX 9060 XT finishes last in this specific generation test. Before choosing a winner, understand the method. Every score uses the same benchmark model, the same generation test, and full GPU offload. But contributors used different computers and backends, so treat small gaps as a guide, not laboratory certainty. For local AI, VRAM decides what can run. Your card must hold the compressed model weight, the conversation memory called KV cache, and runtime overhead. Speed matters only after all three fit. 12 gigabytes is enough for strong 7 to 9 billion models and some larger Q4 builds with careful context. 16 gigabytes gives 13 and 14 billion models far more breathing room. That extra headroom is more useful than a prettier gaming benchmark. Now the price snapshot. New prices were checked in Dutch stores on August 2nd. Used prices are recent individual listings, not averages. The RTX 3060 number is a buying ceiling, above €250. Keep looking. First, the used RTX 3060 12 GB. It produces 76.92 tokens per second here and draws 170 watts by reference specification. It is still the safest cheap entry because CUDA support is broad, and 12 GB beats most new 8 GB cards for local models. The new RX 9060 XT 16 GB costs about €446 in this snapshot. It uses only 160 watts, but its 65.42 score is the slowest here. Buy it for new card warranty, efficiency, and memory capacity, not for this benchmark win. The community favorite RX 6900 XT reaches 85.04 tokens per second and has 16 gigabytes. A recent listing asked €430, but the card is rated at 300 watts, and the newer used alternative is both faster and more efficient. The used RX 7800 XT is the raw value surprise. The example listing was €425. Its board rating is 263 watts, and it leads this group at 95.99 tokens per second. For buyers comfortable with AMD, this is the performance winner under 500. The RTX 5060 Ti 16 GB lands at 93.46 tokens per second. It nearly matches the 7800 XT while using a 180-watt reference power limit. At roughly €589, you pay extra for CUDA compatibility, lower power, and less setup friction. Put the 16 GB cards together and the lesson is obvious. Equal VRAM does not mean equal speed, price, or power. The 7800 XT wins this small model speed test. The 5060 Ti almost matches it at much lower rated power. The 9060 XT wins only on new card price and efficiency. There is one non-benchmark difference. NVIDIA wins the easy setup because CUDA is the default path for many AI tools. AMD works well in llama.cpp through ROCm or Vulkan, but support can vary by application. If you hate troubleshooting, that convenience is worth real money. Here are the actual awards. Under €300, the RTX 3060 12 GB is the safest used entry. Under $500, the used RX 7800 XT is the raw performance winner. Around $600, the RTX 5060 Ti 16 GB is the least friction new choice. And the RX 6900 XT? Buy it only when it is clearly cheaper than a comparable 7800 XT. At almost the same asking price, the 7800 XT is faster in this test and uses 37 fewer rated watts. The final rule has 3 steps. First, choose enough VRAM for the model class you want, then confirm your software supports that GPU. Only then compare tokens per second, power and price. Reversing that order is how people buy a fast card that cannot run their model. Comment your budget, country, and the local model you want to run. We will tell you which GPU class makes sense before you spend the money.